My intro. Disclaimer. My videos are not your usual travel videos. With all due respect, I did not make these videos for you. Rather, I made these videos in my 60s and 70s to watch again when I was too old to travel, when unable to travel. I would relive those trips from my rocking chair or recliner. That time is now. Prostate cancer. Rather than trying to excite others, I just wanted to catapult myself back in time to re-experience my earlier moments. Unlike many travel videos, my videos are spontaneous, in the moment, unscripted, and unrehearsed reflections of what I was seeing and feeling at that moment I turned the camera on. There is no friend, cameraman, multiple takes, inspiring background music, scripted rehearsals, or expert editing. I carried my video camera every day, everywhere, usually hidden under my jacket or beside my van seat, where it was easy to grab to film while driving, or if I jumped out quickly to film something. If in public areas, I carried my video camera under a dress shirt wrapped around my waist or under my jacket with the long strap slung over my head and under one shoulder so it could not be ripped away from me by skilled thieves. I had always been enthralled with the Klondike Gold Rush era, probably from Jack London's stories and Robert Service poems, which I often read over and over again to myself and anybody else I could trap into listening. I'll give you a sample. Strange things are done in the midnight sun by the men who moil for gold, and the Arctic trails have their secret tales that would make your blood run cold. And the northern lights have seen queer sights, but the queerest they ever did see was that night on the marge of Lake LaBarge. I cremated Sam McGee. You can't read these stories and poems without viscerally feeling the outsized grandeur, power, and majesty of Alaska and its neighboring Canadian Northwest Territories. Rugged, glacier-capped mountains, huge and powerful rivers, and large lakes. London's stories and Service's poems people this landscape stage with equally rugged individualistic men and women. This is Fort Steele, British Columbia. This is the Columbia Lake. This is Kootenay National Park in Canada. And like so much of British Columbia, is just mountain range after spectacular mountain range. Part of Marble Canyon. Okay, here is the Columbia Ice Field and Glacier. See, most of these towns are perched along the coastline because the mountains rise very rapidly. We're not yet at Finnegan's Point, at least I hope we're not. And here's an old cabin. This is my Finnegan's Point campsite, right along the river. Remember, they had to bring 2,000 pounds of gear. I'm bringing probably 60 pounds of gear. It's hard to imagine, as we've panned through here, this entire area was laid out as a city. There are at least 1,700 people who lived here. Now, most of these camping sites now is, if not a cabin, this is kind of unique that it's be a log cabin, are at least tent houses for cooking in, for getting warm, for getting out of the rain. A steam boiler, basis for an engine, powered a tramway in the last few months of the first year of the gold rush, so that if you could afford the 7.5 cents per pound from this point, relatively close to the beginning of the trail, all your stuff could be magically whisked open over the top of the Chilkoot Trail. An old stove, but look how big it is. What was this for? Was this some kind of a roadhouse here? Okay, here's a cable suspension bridge, a little bit swirly, particularly with just one hand. This is my little campsite at Sheep Creek. I've got my Enviro gear bag down inside there. A little tarp spread out over the top to just keep the water off. This rock, climbing with a 60-pound pack on it, it's pretty hairy. Makes it really hard and dangerous. This thing up here may be the last of the towers or platforms for the tramway. Okay, we are now at the scales, and the scales is just before we leap up, leap, there's a joke, up the Chilkoot Trail over the pass. When you look at the Chilkoot Trail, which is to the right of it, and that's this area right up in here, we're going to go right up it. Okay, this narrow little chute, in essence, at least looks narrow to me, that was where the line of miners went. Just kind of coming down through this part here called the scales, and just show you some of the debris that's here. You can see where it's going to go, right where these orange posts are, and right up into there somewhere there's another post. I can't see it in the viewfinder here, but you can see the posts as they kind of go up. Okay, now I'm on the rock part, and then these poles indicate what I think is somebody's idea of a joke. They indicate the trail, but you can get a rough idea looking straight up of what these miners saw. Of course, theirs was all snow. I'm not sure that was easier or harder. There's the rest of the pass up there. So we'll see you at the top. There's the pass that we just come up. There's the very top of it, I think, where that flag is. Down there. We'll see that up a little bit farther. Down to Bennett Lake, probably 10 miles, something like that. Headwater end. It's actually really not the headwater for the Yukon. We saw that yesterday when we crossed over. Okay, this is a photo of the tent city at Linderman. One of them I Yeah, south end of Bove Island. And looking over there is where we camped last night. That is the first of the dangerous parts because the wind comes down the arm behind this island and just cranks. Now in the morning it's not doing that usually. We're going to go off here to the left where the bigger channel is around Bove Island, and that may be a little bit more risky. This is Marsh Lake, and it is a shallow lake. This is my little campsite here, my tent up there, which I decided to use tonight in the fire just to let all the big brown furry things know I'm here. There's my eating area over there. Here's that incredible craft that seems to be willing to go anywhere. This is a view taken from the water. This is the island down at the north end of Marsh Lake, and the Yukon begins right down here somewhere. This is the beginning of the Yukon River. We're probably about 100 yards down from the actual start of it. Right now it's quite slow because it's just draining Marsh Lake into the river system. Okay, it's about, according to my watch, well, okay, it's almost 12 o'clock midnight. I wanted to show you these colors before this damn battery goes out. The town is right up there. That's it. That's a hotel, Carmack's Hotel. That's the health center there. It's neat to be cruising down this river. Huge land, basically all to myself. Is that there are a total of 5 big rocks sticking up, like fingers, if you will. This is where the steamers went through, and for the size of those steamers, this is a pretty narrow place now. I don't know if you can pick this up in the photograph, but this is the steamer going through. You can see how little room there was there. Here's another picture of one going through. Get in here a little bit closer. Notice the rocks on the side. That white spot over there is called, its name of that place is called Sam McGee's Ashes, after the character in the Robert Service poem, The Cremation of Sam McGee. This isn't going to be one of my best campsites. It'll be right on this little spit right in front of you. I'll put my cocoon by itself, but it's kind of a pretty view, and it's a lovely sunset tonight. 12 o'clock midnight right now. Hi, my name is Scott Eaton, and it's about the 10th of July 1996, and I thought I'd shoot this footage because this is an ideal use of the cocoon from EnviroGear. Here at McKay's Roadhouse, the road crossed the river using either horse-drawn sleighs in the wintertime, of course, or ferries in the summer. But a roadhouse was a place where people stopped, like motels, to have lodging, primitive lodging, and some kind of meals, usually home-cooked meals. Certainly they would have reputations, as you might imagine, depending upon how good the cook was. Oftentimes for women there was just a section of the roadhouse that was curtained off, and they had their privacy there. There were not selections, this was it, and there were a chain of them, a series of them. I'm on a nice sandy little beach that I'll stop and have lunch on, and probably catch a half-hour of sleep or so. The
Pelly River apparently comes in right where that bluff is over there. It's interesting how fast these things are moving. They're moving just like a ship. One went by me just like probably going as quickly as I can go. I have to kind of steer while I'm doing this because this is I don't want to get too close to these jobs. We're now at the cemetery of the Canadian Field Force, which was that military force that attempted to keep some kind of law and order. This is the building of F. Blanchard, whoever that was. Let's just take a little look inside. It looks like a double bed for 2 people, I would think, and then perhaps for their children. And some of the debris that presumably was either left by them or... This is Victoria Rock, just a notable little place downstream from Fort Selkirk. That's Victoria Rock, and beyond it upstream, of course, is Selkirk. And this is the view that I have from my campsite. I'm on the point of an island, the upstream point. But here I am with my tent right at the point. I can see all directions when I wake up, when I sit there and read. Here's a little makeshift campsite. Someone had found this piece of wood that floated down from somewhere and stuck it in there for a bench. And this is my little cooking area. This is one of the First Nations people coming to check the salmon trap. These log piles form up on the upstream end of an island in high water or spring runoff conditions. I chose this spot because they have these spectacular cliffs over here. Spectacular in terms of the Yukon. Normally it doesn't have anything quite like this. Thought it might be kind of fun to, if it'll work, see what it's like living in my little tent. And then this is the view out the front of the tent, looking across the Yukon. This land. Right now it is absolutely silent except for a couple of birds that I hear chirping on either side of the river. This is usually the case. Now only the occasional seagull, the very occasional bald eagle, always the raven. Since I'm just sitting here in the kayak floating down the river, I thought I'd take a picture of myself if I can keep from dropping the camera in the water. Well, the Yukon's whipping up a storm. What you see there right now is some rain and a lot of dust is being blown up off the islands, I guess. This is the biggest storm I think that I've seen so far. I don't think it's quite hit us yet. Here's the view after the storm. There's a little private cabin over there that we're going to visit in a few moments. Perhaps belongs to a First Nations person, or maybe it's an old cabin from something. Some of these old cabins are probably just like getaway homes for somebody who has to live in Dawson to survive, or Whitehorse, but uses this as their refuge. This is another one of those, I think, ideal campsites. There's my little campsite over there. Because it's located on a little point. Water all around. Very pretty place. You can see it's a little log cabin made out of fairly good sized logs and relatively new. And some of the supplies up here, coffee mate, sugar and salad mix and stuff. Here's a bunch of paperbacks.
Was during the Pleistocene. Today we learn about the mammals of the Pleistocene by studying the fossil remains of bones and plants. Each find gives us more information to piece together the puzzle of what life.
Hey, this is a small operating sluice. This was a grocery delivery wagon.
Now in 1966, it was donated to the Canadian government, but they built a bridge across the river in Riverdale there, so they couldn't float me from Vancouver. We came up here so I could skip the boat down 2nd Avenue.
Okay, this is looking south or upriver on Miles Canyon. Miles Canyon just comes down through here. When the early days before they built the dam at Whitehorse and basically filled the water level up so much that there's no downhill rush through here. The water could be such that it would peak as much as a foot or 2 or even 3, I guess, in the center here. When I came down a couple of weeks ago, it was just as it is right now, very, very tranquil. One of the reasons I wanted to travel down the Cassiar Highway in British Columbia is because I'd never been on it, number one, and also I'm looking for some more spectacular scenery. We're on a paved road now, but it'll relatively soon or quickly turn into dirt. And it rained some time ago and the dirt road is now a mud road. These are in the small town of Kitwanga, which was the site of, I think, the first fort built in Western Canada.
My travel style. Think mainly solo, obsessively curious traveler. As though I were a poor student, avoiding noisy campgrounds, except when necessary, in a national park like Big Bend, Texas, where the main attractions are 50 miles into the park. Traveling in my old Suburban and then a high-quality Road Trek RV van, I actually have owned a total of 6, camping off the grid or hidden in cities quietly unnoticed. My research, planning, and itinerary. I deeply researched each trip for months before departure, using, number 1, Rand McNally's large-scale road atlas, Number 2, DeLorme's Arizona Atlas and Gazetteer for every state I was going through. And 3, the internet, of course, as it evolved. I built a relatively detailed itinerary for each trip that included not only the site visits and experiences I wanted to see, but also rough navigation required, usually marked on the Rand McNally large-scale road atlas. But beware of a rigid, inflexible travel itinerary because it is a potential curse. A rigid, inflexible travel itinerary is a potential curse because it limits your cultural immersion and you miss serendipitous discoveries. This is my curse solution. I padded my itinerary with extra free time. First, 1 free day for every 7 travel days. Second, daily surplus free scheduled time. Go to the next clip to see how I did it. These are a few of my American travel adventures that might intrigue you. The Puebloans Ruins, or the Anasazi, Canyon de Chelly, Chaco Canyon, Mesa Verde, the Mound Culture Peoples, Cahokia Mounds, Effigy Mounds, Hopewell Cultural National Historical Park, and the Moundville Archaeological Park. Civil War, the Gettysburg, Shiloh, and Antietam battlefields, and the antebellum South, Rosewood Plantation and Longwood Plantation houses. Visiting almost everything, the dramatic, the famous, insignificant, and obscure. I hope my videos serve you, but if not, I equally hope you find what does. Thanks. Please use my content key to find what you might enjoy and avoid what you don't. This is how. First, open any of my videos and immediately stop the autoplay. Second, scroll below the video and click Show More. Third, scroll down through my video description and click on the blue timestamp number to the left of the subject with the number of asterisks that you might like. YouTube magically jumps to that time position in my video and auto starts playing. A special note that may be helpful: this content key will appear immediately after my introductory and bio video clip. For many of the videos in North America, including the United States and Canada, and including Alaska.